March 8th, boys, we're flying through March. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Yeah, not bad. Is February the shortest month of the year, though? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels the longest, though.
Right. No, it definitely does. I think the nights are getting longer. Or sorry, the sun time is staying up, making the days a little longer,
I
rather.
think we got daylight savings coming up this weekend, so we're losing an hour, which sucks.
Speaking of saving daylight, the NBA All-Star competition happened last night. Let me finish. And they saved 2 nights of an event by putting the dunk competition in the halftime show. So I know Josh is rolling his eyes at me, but we're starting off with the NBA All-Star event, and
No, that's fine.
something they did this year to cover coronavirus was put everything. Actually, did they have the Rising Stars game too the same day, Matt?
I don't know.
I didn't even watch the Rising Star. I have no
Okay.
idea. I don't even think they did that.
I think they did. They had it earlier, and then maybe no, they didn't even play the Rising All Star games. I'm sorry, they just named the teams. They didn't even play them.
Yeah.
But so it was a 1-day event. They put the dunk competition at halftime. There was a lot of, I don't know if you guys saw the banter online, but there was a lot of question marks around the judgment and the winner of the dunk competition and the dunk that won the competition. Did you guys see the dunk?
I saw all the dunks. It was actually it was fun just in terms of like there has been a lot of fun in sports the last little while just with COVID and all this stuff. Because originally I think we all said that we didn't want them to play the All-Star game, correct? Because of COVID. Did we all say that? Yeah, I did.
I think all All-Star games are stupid. So.
Okay, Brand. Yeah. So I don't know why you had to say that, Josh. Anyways. So yeah, it was actually fun. Giannis got the All-Star MVP, which is pretty good. I think he went 16 for 16 in the game. He literally did not miss.
Yeah,
which is insanity when you think about it.
He took a three.
He made it 3 as well, right?
Yeah, it was good. Team LeBron won. Yeah, Brandon, go. Yeah, Team LeBron won. I think this is the 4th time in a row Team LeBron's won. So every time he's picked a team, his team has won, which I think is just a hilarious little stat right there. And what was the guy's name who won the contest, Brandon?
What contest?
The dunk contest.
His name was Simmons, something Simmons.
Yeah, and he
from Portland, and Simon something.
The dunk that I loved the most was actually him kissing the rim, which was hilarious. So,
but he didn't kiss it though.
That was attempting to kiss the rim. That one I would say went the most viral, which is just kind of funny. And Josh, did you not laugh when he tried to do that?
Yeah, I did. So the issue I have with the dunk competition is I think we've seen all we can see with the dunk competition, unless you start using props and stuff. And I don't get the voting. So an all-star game is for the fans, right? Why are the fans not voting? Like, you have the capability, you have an NBA app, like, do the dunk competition, play the second half, and then name the dunk competition winner after the game is done, so fans have time to vote. Wouldn't that make more sense than having, 5 guys give them scores? Like, I've never understood why the fans don't get to decide the best dunk.
I think it's like just for like the immediate feedback kind of factor. Like, they hold up scorecards out of 9 and 10, and like I just feel like they've been doing that for like ever. Like, I think I
don't know.
No, I think it's just an American thing. Like, they do that for like beauty pageants. What else do they hold the 9 and the 10 up for? I feel like they do it for everything. So
Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, like they do that for so much things. So I think it's kind of more like that. But yeah, Josh, if I were you, I would get the fans more involved. Especially voting would be kind of cool. But
especially this year where there was no crowd, right? Like, usually, so that replaces your crowd noise, because if there's a good dunk that the fans love, then the arena goes nuts. Well, this year you don't really have that. You have the pumped in noise, and I think they had limited fans there. It might have been friends and family. But if you get that voting going, then people are going to be interested to see the votes live, and you get those TV ratings in. It just felt kind of forced this year with the whole, we're having an all-star game. They already ruled out 2 players before the game even started. So it's kind of like, I watched the first, like, it was like the skills course where they had to make a pat. That was a stupid one. I didn't get that. I thought the 3-point competition was really good. That was entertaining, especially with those Mountain Dew balls now. And that competition's made for Steph Curry. That was a fun, and I love that it came down to his final ball. That kept me hooked. And then I watched the dunk contest afterwards on YouTube, and like there was some good dunks, but I just kind of think unless maybe you got to change the format of it, but how do you change the format of a dunk? Like you've kind of seen all you can see, right? Or am I the only one who kind of thinks that?
So basically, no, I know this isn't our debate segment, but basically you're trying to have the conversation, are all-star games stupid across all sports? Is that what you're trying to say, Josh?
I just don't see the point in them.
So is that yes or no?
Yeah, I like, so the actual game part I don't get, but the skills competition I can see the value in that, because like let's use the NHL for example. You want to know who the fastest skater is, well you can't do that in a game, right?
I think it's more the whole all-star. I think it's being named to the all-star,
because like still have an all-star team.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just telling you why they do the weekend and stuff, because the NHL is the only sport where making an all-star team is not a direct correlation to contracts. Maybe entry levels getting your bonuses and stuff.
Yeah.
But like I remember Klay Thompson missed out on $50 million because you know how they do the all NBA team and you're a first all-star, a second all-star? He missed out on that literally only 1 year, and every other year he missed out $50 million. So I think that's why you see other leagues like the NHL, MLB, and NFL care more about the all-star game. So in terms of hockey, I definitely think they should do something more like that. Because like I think like the all-star, it should help in Hall of Fame type of stuff when you like your career's over and you're a 15-time all-star. Like I think that carries weight. But if someone just says I'm a one-time all-star, like that doesn't really have the same ring to it, you know? Brandon, what do you think?
What is this? Is this debate 10 minutes in? What's the question?
Well, we're just like the value of all-star games.
Yeah,
I'm gonna. What is it? The value of the all-star game to the player? You mean because of?
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's good for the resume. I guess that's what you're talking about. Part of the conversation in terms of Matt raises a great point. The NBA uses it for contract basis, you know, and you can get money variations dependent on your all-star votes and your all-star submission rather. So in the NBA, it's important in that manner. If I'm speaking to Josh's, all-star games are irrelevant across pro sports, then I could agree to most part. I think we talked about this last time. Is sometimes maybe they would benefit from more incentive, and that's what we were talking about with the NHL. Like they all split $1 million or something like that, and it was kind of like, what's the value of that to their time or to their outside commitment? If they could be because this could be a week off, right? Like back in pre-coronavirus, they could take a week off for themselves and their family, and so why should I come to the All-Star game? But some of the worst All-Star themed events, because I don't know if the Pro Bowl it isn't all-star selections, but it's at the end of the season, which makes it kind of really, 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 really extra boring. That's a poor one to watch. The MLB one's a poor one to watch.
The MLB, the draw for the MLB one,
I know. Let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is the winner used to get home field?
No, I was gonna say the draw for the MLB All-Star Weekend is the home run derby.
Well, usually, I don't know. I think they might have changed it, or it's still I think they've changed it recently. Is that the winner of the All-Star game, NL or the AL, got the first home field in the World Series, and I don't know if they've done that anymore. But even the home run derby is, I don't know. You think that's the most valued skills across all sports event in All Stars? Because think about it.
Just for baseball.
The dunk contest is
I have a great question. Yeah, no, I was gonna say the dunk contest, 3-point, home run derby, or hardest slap shot. Like, what are some of the most, like, what would be the greatest event to win as an athlete if you were in the All-Star game and you could?
I'll take this.
Brent,
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Let me finish before I hand it off, because I personally would think that the home runs are impressive, but to say you have like the hardest slap shot would be super cool for personal reasons.
I think like the 3-point shooter contest is the hardest one to win.
Yeah.
Because like you could just go out there. How many balls do you get? 30?
Something like that.
You could like lay up 30 bricks. Like
5 times 5, 5 times 6 or something like that. Yeah.
Whatever it is. Like you could just go out there and just lay bricks, but like they were shooting, I think Ernie made like 80% of his shots last night in that competition. So
okay, I think I have an idea then. 3-point contest this week, Orion.
I'm down. Do we have enough basketballs?
There's no way we could find enough
You have
basketball.
rebounders. Yeah, I have yes, there's ways.
Okay, I'll do it, but no timer.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I just wrapping on and switching gears here. Out of the All-Star weekend, I should guess, because they did the draft with LeBron and Kevin Durant. What are we giving it out of 10? I'll go 8 out of 10. What about you guys?
That's a good number. 8's a good number.
Josh,
my overall impression of it, I didn't really was the draft. I'm relying on. Was it the draft? Did you guys watch it? Was it?
It was really funny. It was.
It
good.
was.
It was actually pretty funny to watch the draft. I'll be honest. Sorry, Matt, but to further the rating system on my 8.5, it could have been a 9, but some of the key players were like not key players, but like the teams were really imbalanced, and it was easy to see that from the beginning.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll give it a 7 then.
Okay, so
like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, for example, like they didn't even get to play, so that was hard.
So just switching gears, I know we talked about the fastest skater, and one of the fastest skaters in the NHL used to be Taylor Hall, but definitely not anymore because I don't know if you guys saw that clip, but he fell on a breakaway and he looked very depressed going into a corner, and Buffalo Twitter and NHL Twitter had an absolute field day with that. So where did Taylor Hall and the Buffalo Sabres go from here? I saw Sabres fans tweeting for the coach's head. The owners are getting blasted now. So, Josh, where are you with this story and anything you want to tee up for the boys right now?
Well, so I'm hearing. Okay.
It was funny. Him falling was funny. Can we just say that?
Yeah, that was funny. It looked like I don't know what the hell he tripped over, man. Like I had to watch it a couple times. I thought I'd be able to see a rut in the ice or something, but I think it was at the beginning of the period, so I don't know what he was tripping over. It happens. It's just unfortunate that you've scored 2 goals all year, and then that's you who falls over on a breakaway. But I've been hearing reports like, oh yeah, Taylor Hall's interested in staying in Buffalo and all that stuff, and Buffalo wants to keep him. If you're Taylor Hall, man, why do you want to stay in Buffalo? Like what?
I got this. Devil's advocate.
Let me finish. Like, what incentive do you have to stay in Buffalo? Yeah, you're getting paid $8 million a year. Yes, money, but there's other teams that are going to be able to pay you. I just don't see like this guy. If you look at him on the bench, his body language, he looks fucking depressed.
That's what I said.
He looks so sad to be there. His lineman, like Jeff Skinner, finally got his first goal of the season, and Jack Eichel's just laying a dump at center ice most games. So. Like the 2 guys that he was supposed to be playing with aren't playing either. They have no goaltending. The coaching is a joke. Like I'm surprised he hasn't been fired yet. And the GM's walking around with his head up his ass. And it all we're going to get to this later. Like, what would you do? But it all starts at ownership. And you got to work your way down. Take a look what the Bills did. It started with ownership. They kind of did a remodel in the executive office, brought in some key pieces and people who know what they're doing. And look at the Bills now. They're a top 3 team in the NFL.
Same owners.
Right, same owners, but it's the focus on the investment, right? You got to
I understand.
Investment. So it's just I feel really bad for Taylor Hall. I feel bad for Jack Eichel and even Jeff Skinner, man. Like Jeff Skinner's got to be going through some shit, making $9 million a year, and you have 2 points all season. I don't know. It's a mess over there, and I do feel for the Sabres, and I feel for the NHL too, because the NHL is fun when the Sabres are good. At least for us, right? Because you got that battle of the QBW. So,
I'll give my thoughts before I kick it over to Brandon. I don't feel bad for anyone in the Buffalo Sabres organization. The reason is there's a difference if you're all going out trying hard and you just don't get the W, but there's a lot of players in that locker room that are not trying whatsoever. Like, I just think the whole Taylor Hall falling down, I know it's one play and I don't really want to talk about it that much, but I think you're just not engaged. You know what I mean? I think falling is just more of a focus because a lot of people saw the 4-second clip of him falling, but when you take it back, there was a massive turnover. It was a good pass and he should have been on his way, but he might have been tired and he just fell. Jack Eichel is an interesting case. I guess we'll get to him, but he does not look engaged. Ralph Kruger's calling out players in the media, which I don't know how to do that. Rasmus Dahlin said, "Oh, I'm embarrassed." I'm like, no offense, Rasmus, but when I look at the young defensemen,
I forgot he was on the team.
Exactly. So I'll just rip him for a second. When we talk about the young defensemen on the Buffaloes in the NHL, we talk about Quinn Hughes, Cale Makar, Heiskanen last year, especially in the playoffs. And Dahlin was supposed to be better than all of them. So I think he needs to look in the mirror. I think a lot of them need to look in the mirror because I personally think you can't blame ownership and GM for all of it. Like, you have 2 players who are capable of winning the MVP. Hall already has Eichel, if he won an MVP in his career, I would not be surprised. I think they need to get together as players or they're all going to get shipped out of town. Brandon, what do you think?
On the Buffalo Sabers?
Yeah, Brandon.
Well, I know you asked, like, I'm super confused, but I'm just trying to, because Josh brings in the Buffalo Bills as an example, so I'm like, okay,
yeah, it's the same ownership group that it is possible to take crap to reasonable.
But, it's sad with the Buffalo Sabers. I mean, I was gonna say Buffalo Bills again. It's sad. I am a fan. I would consider them in my top 5 favorite teams, probably the 4th or 5th, but that just goes back from childhood and growing up watching them, traveling to see them because it was accessible and whatnot, as Josh said, the QEW. But even as I grew up, it was fun to watch them play against the Leafs. They actually grew some intense rivalries. Nazem Kadri notably too, and Rasmus Ristolainen. Regardless of those rivalries with the Leafs, keeping my attention on the Sabres, it's time for something, usually of player being moved, right? So I don't know, like I said, we always want it to be right now and happen today so we can talk about the news, but I don't know how fast this organization will turn around. I mean, I thought, it's been turning around since they had Jack Eichel, but look how fast, they'll turn against him, and you can see how fast the other example of Austin Matthews rose his team.
Yeah, like people think that just because you get the first overall pick, your team's going to turn around. It's just not the case. You got to have, and we can move on to this here, you got to have a solid management group. Because when the Leafs got Matthews, they had Shanahan in place. They had Babcock as a coach. Lou Lamoriello was there. They had a great scouting department. They had Kyle Dubas and Mark Hunter as the assistant GM. Like, they had the right things in place, and it wasn't just Matthews, right? Like, they brought in other pieces to complement him, and they ended up with top 4 NHL stars, right? And eventually they brought in Tavares, and Nylander came into his own. Mitch Marner is exceeding expectations, but it's just. And then you take a look at Edmonton, and they kind of got onto something when they got McDavid, and then they dropped off because their management there isn't the best either. You just look at Buffalo, man. Like, they don't really know what they're doing. I don't know how a guy scores 40 goals once, and then you sign him to a 9-year or a $9 million 6-year deal. I think, like, if I'm with the Sabres and they hired me as a hockey president of operations or whatever, hockey president, my first thing I would say to ownership is, okay, back off. I'm cleaning house, and I'm bringing in a new GM, assistant GMs, new scouting department, and we're starting from scratch because they keep trying to rebuild and they just don't have the pieces to do it. So I think you got to clear house there and just kind of start fresh. I don't know if Ralph Kruger is the guy to coach that team anymore. Matt, like, maybe he can go up to an executive role because he does know quite a bit about hockey. I don't think he's the guy that they can have behind the bench anymore. Because what good has it done for them? He's been there 2 years now, and all they've done is lose. They're going to be tired of hearing from this guy.
So, Josh, you bring up actually really good points, but a lot of things that you're talking about is the executive level, the ownership level, but they have some intriguing players on their roster. So what do you think should happen between Taylor Hall, Jack Eichel, Jeff Skinner, Ryan Hart, and just kind of go down the list of their individual players?
Yeah, they do have good talent there. Like, Taylor Hall is a top player in the NHL. So is Jack Eichel. Jeff Skinner did score 40 goals. Like, we can't ignore that. Jeff Skinner is a good player.
Yeah, sure.
Rasmus Dahlin is there. You got some good prospects. Like, you got Casey Middlestat there still.
Cousins, yep.
Yeah, Cousins. They have the pieces there to get it done. I just think they're missing those complementary pieces because once you get past like their top 5 players, it's okay. Who's this? And you don't need game breakers. I think Buffalo already has the game breakers, to be honest. Like, Taylor Hall, he's a game breaker. Jack Eichel can be a game breaker, and he has been. He almost dragged Buffalo to the playoffs a couple of years ago. I think Rasmus Dahlin needs some help on the back end, and you got to go and get a goalie for sure. But they don't even need to bring in a big name because they have the big names there. Like, your big name is going to be a coach or a GM. I think that would make such a difference for Buffalo. I really do.
Yeah, but a lot of the pieces that you mentioned are moving out. Like, there's no way Taylor Hall stays. No, I would not want to extend him at all. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think that would be more poison
No,
in the water.
I don't think he's a Saber past the trade deadline.
Exactly. Like, I'm retaining half, and I think a lot of teams will be interested at $4 million Taylor Hall just for a run. Like, I could look at the Leafs, Colorado, Vegas is always in the mix. If Chicago thinks they're for real, maybe they get in. I just think there's definitely some options. And before we move on, Brandon, do you have any last thoughts?
No, not on the Sabres.
Yeah, Buffalo doesn't really. We can honestly do a whole podcast dedicated to Sabres. They're such interesting, and
that could be a fun one we do this week, Matt. Maybe you and I can, if Brandon wants to partake. I know he hates the Sabres, but we can hop on and
do a 20-minute thing on. Anyways, yeah, for sure. But just talking about
But okay.
It doesn't matter. Anyways, talking just about, I know you guys mentioned 4 or 5 in QEW. Another battle and rivalry is the Battle of Alberta.
Yeah.
And they had it. Boy, did they have a fun. But before I get into their game, I just want to give props to Connor McDavid. I kind of shit-talked him. I was listening back, and he took over a game. He got the W almost single-handedly.
Against a weak Flames team, but that's fine.
No, but you pay him to win games like that, so I don't really care who it's against.
Yeah, go ahead.
Retrospect.
Pick on a bottom 5 team. That's fine.
Would you rather he didn't show up, Josh? Is that what you want?
I just live to see the Oilers suffer. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, fuck off. Anyways, so can you take it away, Josh? Sorry, I lost my thought.
Yeah, the Battle of Alberta really heated up this weekend. Did they play 1 or 2 games? Because I saw a lot of highlights.
They played 1, but it was a bang out.
Yeah, so there was a lot of fights. Darnell Nurse and Lucic going at it.
That was a good one. That was a really good one.
You know what? Nurse held his own against a veteran. Like, someone called him the heavyweight champ of the NHL. I don't know about that one because
they're idiots. Whoever said.
Yeah, Ryan Reeves is staring there but yeah, they had a good fight. Lots of hits. Good back and forth. Like Matt said, Connor McDavid took over a game. And I liked the response from the Flames since their coach has been fired to say, okay, yeah, we're here for real.
Yeah, sure.
Because Sutter's not behind the bench yet. I think his first game he'll coach.
For his first days today. I think they had a practice today. It was the first day.
Yeah, so his first coachable game is tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really interesting to see how this Flames team plays for him because he's a grit, go and get him coach, and they got some players that'll do that. Like this Flames team could get not necessarily skill-wise dangerous, but in the corners beat you to a pulp dangerous. And that really fits with their star player, Matt Tkachuk. He's going to love that style of coaching. And that's really going to awaken Lucic, I think.
Yeah, on Saturday, when I was watching that game, Lucic made actual good plays. That was a good fight, you mentioned.
Sorry, before you mention
good plays relative to Milan Lucic.
Yeah, I know. I whenever we say Lucic, and I made this joke to Brandon before, he always looks like he's skating on a treadmill because he's going fast, but he's not going anywhere.
His skating's terrible. I'm not giving him too much props, but I'm saying he's not. He looked a little better than just guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was guy with number. He was instead of a 1-star, he's a 2-star, maybe a 1.5.
He's still a tier 1.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, we saw improvement, which was good. But yeah, just talking about Darius Sutter coming in Calgary, I agree with you, Josh. I know Bennett might be on his way out, but he plays gritty, especially in the playoffs. Riddick tries to fight people when he's in the net. So I just think they're definitely a gritty team. And I definitely do think it will be kind of interesting to see where they're at because they're still in the race here. I know we don't really talk about Calgary, but when you do look at the standings, they're 5 points back and they're 3 points back of Montreal, but Montreal has 3 games in hand, so they definitely got to start going now. It's interesting. I always go back to Gaudreau and Monahan, just to be honest with you, because Josh, you watched the whole game, correct?
No,
or most of it, anyways. But I just personally think whenever big games come, I just don't see Gaudreau and Monahan.
No,
and it's so frustrating because in games like that, when McDavid shows up and gets 3 points and scores a good goal, you need other stars, maybe not even to play better than him, but just kind of maintain him, make good plays. You saw we did that with Matthews and Marner, and Nylander had big games. Tavares, I just think if you're Calgary, you need so much more out of those 2 players specifically, because it honestly just likes Matthew Tkachuk and plus other people every Calgary game I watch. So
yeah,
I don't know
true.
Yeah, it is true. So I would definitely, I don't know. I think they have to do something to Tkachuk, maybe give him the captaincy or just do something to wake up the locker room even more. What do you guys think?
I want to hear. Like, I got a question for Brandon because he's played a high level. When a coach comes in with a different mindset than a previous coach, does that? How long would it take for the team to adjust to that? Because they're used to a previous coaching style, right? Like the guy I can't even remember his name. Joff Ward.
Ward.
Yeah, Ward. He his coaching style was kind of outside, keep the puck, possession, shoot at the net. And Daryl Sutter's going to come in and he's going to be like battle in the corners, push to the front of the net, crowd the front of the net. How long is it going to take Calgary to adjust to that?
Well, yeah. I mean, you'd hope. That's a good question, but you'd hope as a player that as soon as it happens, before the guys even stepped in the room, just the name of Sutter has an impact on the atmosphere in the room. Hopefully you're right. You're going to need some veterans to take up a little bit more of a responsibility, because that's the style of hockey that was around, I guess, because most of these young players aren't probably quite familiar with Sutter. So guys like Lucic, Giordano, who used to, play back when Sutter coached, probably have to step up and implement his rules and strategies. However, I personally find him funny to look at, funny to listen to. I couldn't imagine being coached by him, but in terms of the results he's put on the ice throughout his career, in terms of teams, he's done well with different varieties of players wherever he's gone. So I don't know what it is about him, but I think that he said that he has some unfinished business to do here in Calgary, which is
he has to fuck off with that.
Yeah, he's referencing like 2004, right?
Yeah, I know, bro, come on, there's no correlation whatsoever.
But going back to you asking me personally, I think that if it hasn't happened already, the first practice today, hopefully let players know the different type of playing style that should be expected out in the Battle of Alberta now, and then throughout the rest of the league.
Yeah. So
very true.
That is true. And just to wrap it up, do we think Calgary is making the playoffs, boys? We'll just do a quick yes or no. I'm going to go with no. I actually didn't have them in. Brandon, shaking your head.
I don't think I can.
Yeah, Josh?
I know. I got to see a little bit more from Montreal.
Carey Price, you mean?
Montreal in general.
Okay, so just switching gears to another Canadian team, the Toronto Maple Leafs. We have a 3-game home. Actually, before we start that, so Josh does the schedule for the show for people that don't know. And in one of his bullet points, he said Leafs Nation needs to chill. Josh, why the fuck do we need to chill? We're first place. We're enjoying it. There is no chill. We're going to win the cup.
Because we're not. Go on Twitter. We lose 2 games to Vancouver. Oh, fire Dubas. Keefe doesn't know what he's doing.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant chill in terms of put your expectations down. Sorry.
Oh, no.
I read that wrong.
Take your expectations. Have them store a line of Coke, and let's get rolling here.
Yeah.
A weird saying.
What did you? Yeah, that was bad. Anyways, Josh, what did you see on Twitter? I haven't been on my phone this weekend. People were saying
people freak out.
Vancouver.
We lose 1 game. We lose 2 games, and there's a trade Nylander. Freddie sucks. Keefe doesn't know what he's doing. Dubas needs to bring in pieces for this team. Relax.
Okay, just picking that apart. Just to pick that apart, this next stretch is important. But in terms of, because we're talking about the Vancouver. In terms of Vancouver, I want to give Brandon a shout out because he said if Austin Matthews keeps going with a slump, Brandon, do you remember what you said? You did something to the effect of what happens if Matthews gets shut down the 2 Vancouver games, and he did. So Brandon was right in that respect.
Well, I just think I said it was going to bring a conversation that you said
that's what you said.
Monday, which I guess we're on Monday now, and
we're talking about it.
Is in a scoring drought.
So
Josh, scoring drought though. The guy's still leading the league in goals.
Well, what did you call McDavid when he was still top 5 in points and haven't scored in 3 games? A scoring drought?
A fucking loser. That's what I called him.
So Matthews is a loser?
I guess so, yeah.
So there you played yourself. But Matthews isn't a loser in my eyes.
He's a loser on a first place team.
Okay, so anyways, Josh, we live streamed the Vancouver games, correct? The first one I think we did.
We did not live stream the games. That is not correct.
We did. We are not.
Oh, sorry.
Pirates.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
We did a
live stream during intermission to talk about the hockey game.
FBI guy watching me right now. We did not live stream the game.
We did a live stream at intermission, and
I get Joe Rogan knocking at my door.
Okay, so anyway, Josh, did you notice anything about Vancouver that we did bad?
That we did bad.
I think we got. I think I think we got unlucky, to be honest. You know,
That's
we missed
great analysis.
okay, well, I'm fucking getting to it, Matt. We missed a couple. We missed a couple of empty nets. I thought their goalie played really well. It was one of those. It was frustrating to watch because I expected a little bit more offense, but I understand why it wasn't there because you're coming off a 3-game stretch against the second best team in the division in Edmonton, and you shut them down to 1 goal. You know, you're gonna have a stretch where you don't look your best. Freddie's still looking a little bit shaky. I don't think he's gonna earn his start tomorrow night. Well, I guess it depends who's ready, but I will be worried if they don't respond against Winnipeg. That's when I'll start to get worried.
Could it just be as simple as we played so hard against Edmonton? We have a big stretch coming up. And exactly. So that's kind of why we lost the first game, and the Saturday night game we just got beat. Hoglander had an amazing shot. Like, do you know what I mean? Do you think it's just kind of why?
8 games in 13 days or something.
Yeah, I think it's more that. Like, if we play bad on this homestand, I'm definitely going to get a lot more concerned. So, yeah, Winnipeg. I just think I don't want to say they're made to beat us, but they kind of have everything we have. But their goalie's playing a lot better than our current goalie. Mm-hmm. So I definitely think it'll be a toss-up. And that's the one team that I'm kind of worried about because we haven't played them. I mean, we played them once, and that was when Scheifele tried to jump Marner after the empty net, which was hilarious. So, Brandon, what do you think the key for us beating Winnipeg the next 3 games will be?
Jump Scheifele.
Who? Scheifele?
Jump Scheifele.
Jump Scheifele. I don't like Wheeler. I don't know about Scheifele. He's okay. He's Canadian, but it'll be interesting to see how the Leafs respond now because they're in a position of responding situation, I guess, because they're on the short end of the stick. They're coming off the losses, and Matthews has personal reasons to have a good game, but they do need to identify. I think this is the week where something could happen. I think maybe. When I mean something could happen, I mean, you know, this is where we could expect a deal to be made. And I think if something was to go wrong and we lost tomorrow night, that would be the hole you see in that loss would be the hole that might be filled in the next coming days. I'm not sure necessarily.
You mentioned to fill the hole. What is the hole the Leafs have? Because I think they've looked the best.
Oh, speaking of which, Wayne Simmons has actually started skating today. I saw. So that is an area of which the hole could be closed over again because he is the type of player that we don't have to go out and get right now. We have but this top 6 forward thing that I hear from the media is kind of a stretch. I think we have the defense. Do you think that we need any new defense? I don't think so.
Maybe depth. Maybe depth.
It would be.
We're like 11 deep on defense.
No, but Josh, when you actually like number it 1 to like 10, it's actually not as good as it seems. Because like you're all 2 injuries away from calling up Marincin because we have Riley, Brody, Muzzin, then Hall. And then we have Dermott, Bogosian. And then right after that, our top 6 is Lettinen. And then Sandin, Liljegren. Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
well,
by depth, I mean guy. Like at the deadline, if the Leafs get a defense guy, that is fine. Like, you know what I mean? So I would definitely close that.
Yeah, I hope we're not getting AHL depth.
Yeah, that would be disappointing if that's your trade deadline acquisition.
Right. No, but I think that with the deadline coming soon, if we don't win and look as amazing in the first game tomorrow night, that would be something that was going to be addressed because it's a short season. And if we can get something done with the team in Canada, maybe that would be beneficial, right? You can get the guy faster. So get him on the ice. And it's going to be interesting to watch Pierre-Luc Dubois for the first time on Canadian television. I've never watched him until he came up here. So I wouldn't watch him if he wasn't playing the Leafs. So it's going to be interesting to see. Matthews versus him, and then it'll be hard missing out on the Line A Matthews battle. So
Matthews dominated that.
We need to win, and we need to keep our position in the top first. Nothing else but first is satisfactory, really.
Josh, what do you think about the Winnipeg stretch?
I see it 2 ways, right? So Winnipeg, they're a big team. Like they like to play strong against the boards, and I'll ask you guys this. Would you consider calling Sabrin over from the taxi squad and throwing him on the fourth line? Because they don't
Every
have
time,
they don't
You
have
know what it
Simmons right
is?
now.
You know
every
what it
time
is,
that we
Josh?
discuss this, it's never happened.
I know, but like you have to have it happen eventually, right? He's on the taxi squad for a reason. Otherwise, he'd be playing in the Marlies.
I'm not saying that I don't want it to happen, but we've always mentioned. Do you think that the next game is when the Sabrin should come, and then we see him practice fight in the media? But it seems like
I would have called him in.
It seems that they're so reluctant to use him for some reason. I mean, I don't know if it has to do with taking out. He really deserves it. I would say that probably everyone else right now deserves to be on there more than him. But if you're looking for an add of depth and that toughness, right? That's what the difference is.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, you know what it is though? I think it's different of like, I think Winnipeg is like hitting tough, like strong. You're gonna have to protect the puck, pressure down low. There can be big bodies in front of Freddie. Like, I don't think it's a fight. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? So like, I don't really think Sabrin, it's different though. You know what I'm trying to say?
But that threat's there. Like, if you see him on the bench as opposed to the press box, you might not hit Marner as hard as you know what I mean? Like,
trust me, I don't think Winnipeg thinks that. Maybe if it's like Ottawa or something, but I just think this game is so important from a hockey perspective.
Yeah,
I'd rather have a Vesey or a Barabanov or someone who I might get a tapping goal or just for whatever. Because like, I just think when you play good teams like this, I don't want to say Matthews and Marner are less important, but it's more realistic that you're going to need third or fourth line scoring. So I personally wouldn't put Sabrin in. Maybe if it was a back-to-back, but we play them every other day. So I wouldn't really put Sabrin in. But just in terms of the stretch, we are ahead of them. The only problem is they have games in hand. So just looking at the standings right now, the Leafs are by a mile. Well, maybe not by a mile. They have 2 games in hand, but we're 7 points ahead. And the next 3 games we play them. So, like, I think we need 4 out of 6 points. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I'd say you got to get 4 out of 6.
Got to get 4, yeah. You want to be in such a good position going into the deadline that there's not a pressure to get a haul or pressure to get Ricardo Kell, who's been mentioned, or Granlund. There's a few, Eric Stahl, a few guys that have been thrown our way. Because, like, realistically, I think if Simmons was healthy and maybe Robertson was healthy from the jump, he might have got called up by now. I don't think there would have been so much pressure to get a forward. So, Brandon, you kind of mentioned that you think the media is kind of playing a narrative that we need another forward. Do you not agree with that, or do you not think we need some top 6 help?
No, I agree with that. I think that it's hard to see Simmons skate already because where would that spot go if we needed that? If
That's
we got
the thing. I don't know where he's going
right now, because I mean, although the top 6 forwards sounds expensive, isn't Simmons at 1 million or something like that? Like he's at
1.5.
He's at one of the bare minimum on your team. So, and you can his asset might be pushed to the third line, which is
I think because like just when you kind of look at a roster, I just kind of think like we have this checking line of Mikheyev, Engvall, and Hyman. But when Simmons comes back, there's no way that stays. Don't you think, Josh? Like I couldn't see that staying.
I think that stays.
But then where do you put Simmons with Tavares and Nylander, and you put Kerfoot on the 4th line?
Yeah, because Kerfoot's not hanging around past the trade deadline. I think he's a good trade piece for someone.
I think so too. So I think the elephant in the room kind of is that I think when you look at the left side, which is most likely where a Granlund or Hall or a Kell or maybe Eric Stahl would come in, I think we have Joe Thornton right now. So Joe Thornton 1, Kerfoot 2, Mikheyev 3, and Vesey 4. And when you just look at that on its own, I don't think it's good enough to win a cup. So I think that ranking? The left wingers, Josh.
Oh, okay.
I named the 4 left wingers.
I understood that when you said that.
I was like,
my apologies.
I
named the 4 left wingers.
Josh was given some heat to some of the haters that said Vesey wasn't gonna contribute at all, and he's kind of gotten a little bit of.
He got hot. He got hot for a few games. Yeah.
In the last few games, getting some goals, and I don't know if Josh has anything to say on that.
No, it's just I don't think he's done anything wrong. It's just you always need that guy to pick on, right? Like you always have the weak link. Every group has it. Every team has it. So the Leafs Nation needed some negative outputs. They were like, "Oh, Jimmy Vesey, he sucks." Well, it's like, no, he's just not on the score sheet, right? Like,
I think,
it was just nice to see him get a couple goals, right? I think he's been fine for the Leafs. I don't have an issue with him.
But I think the reason that like people don't like him is because I just named the hole we have at left wing. The hope was that he would be beside Tavares and Nylander, and he would get maybe 20 goals. So that was actually the hope. Because when you look at his hope. Maybe not in this season because 56 games, but in a regular 82-game season, you were 20. That was actually what we expected. Because when you looked at his production with the Rangers, he was getting 17 goals, 20 goals. So the thought was he's a guy you can put with Matthews and Marner, and maybe he kind of that's not the word. Rejigs his career, I would say.
Rejuvenate.
Good job, Josh.
Yeah.
So
I'm kidding. Okay, just kidding.
Okay, so I'm just kind of switching gears now. We actually got some really positive news.
Oh, never mind. I thought you weren't switching gears. I was going to say, speaking of rejuvenating.
Okay, yeah, you can finish. Yeah, we'll go.
NWHL will finish their season.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay. Well, you weren't going to use rejuvenating, but I wanted to.
Okay. So, anyways, Josh, you have some sources close to this. So they're returning. What is it going to look like? What are the
Josh
dates?
actually was on the phone call that made this decision possible.
I made the decision. I called up.
Sources is Josh.
I called up Ty Tamilia. I said, "Hey, I got you ice. Get your teams down here."
So, Josh, what do you know about the situation?
It's going to be, I believe it's March 26th, 27th. 4 teams are going.
What? Boston Bruins Practice Center.
Boston Bruins Practice Facility, home of the Boston Pride. They are going to just do their semifinals and finals, 2 days, COVID testing, protocols, quarantine. And I reached out to a couple of Toronto 6 reps, and I was asking, I said, hey, is this – because remember one of the main issues, Brendan, you might remember this. We discussed it with Digit. One of the main issues of the NWHL doing their bubble in the States was that when the 6 players came back, they'd have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And these ladies can't afford to take an extra 2 weeks off work.
So that's interesting because...
So that's one of the issues because they've already used that time in the previous bubble. So now my main concern is it going to be worth it for them, or are they going to be able to go out there, play maybe 1 or 2 games, and then come back? Right, like it's a serious worry in my.
Well, you said there's going to be testing, though.
There'll be testing, but the Canadian government, right? They need to get approval to be exempt from a quarantine when they get back. So you can go to the States.
Yeah, but we're not talking about getting back. It's in the tournaments in the States.
Yes, but that's the main issue. So it's in the States. So you're leaving Canada, going to the States, and then you got to come back. You say you land back here on the Monday. You can't go to work on Wednesday because these girls, they have other jobs. So that's one of the issues that is being discussed. They might get an exemption from the Canadian government where they come back and they have to just quarantine for 3 or 4 days because they will be in a COVID bubble, COVID protocols, COVID testing.
That I do exception to personally, just because wouldn't we all like to do a little bit of our own thing and receive a little bit of grant from the government? However, it is great to see this reoccurring and the league trying to finish. I wonder if there's some pressure on them because they saw the dream
that's exactly what it is.
The Dream Gap tour taking some steam on the recent weekends with some broadcast time and some promotion. So maybe they felt. Do you think that played a factor? I don't think we're gonna.
100%. I think that's what it is because the PWHPA is really picking up steam. The Barstool Hockey League is filming their tournament today, I believe. I don't really know how well that's going to do because they were supposed to do it live.
Clearly, the NWHL wants to get a product on there.
Yeah, I think it's important they complete it too. Right? So the teams involved, it's going to be the Pride, the Whalers, the Whitecaps, and the 6.
Interesting. So they're still missing 2 teams?
Yes, because they're only doing their semifinals and finals. So they're just taking so they're just taking their top 4 seeds, which it's good. And it'll be nice to get a completion on it because the 6, they were on a roll. So just from a personal standpoint, it'd be nice to see them keep going and bring home the ship.
Speaking of bringing home the ship. Oh, you got anything to say on the 6, Matt, or you're good?
No, I was going to put my 2 cents in here. I just think, it's so frustrating with COVID because I think these women definitely deserve the opportunity to show their skill set. And I just remember watching all the highlights because I couldn't catch some of the games. So I just remember watching the highlights and they were buzzing. Josh, as you mentioned, Toronto. So I'm really happy that they're going to get it together and finish the season out right. But I was wondering if you guys had any predictions. Like, I know we're biased, we're going to say Toronto, but Josh, if you had to put money on it, who are you picking?
Well, the hottest team going into the playoffs is Toronto. So I think you'd have to be kind of
So two things.
blind to see it, right?
I think that now that we've learned how they can play, not only does their skill on ice come into factor, I think that this team has developed much more chemistry than any of the other teams this year due to the road trip and the individuality of them being in Toronto, because they're excluded from the rest of the league in America. They're not just, they're not as close to their former teammates. A lot of these girls, it's an expansion team, right? They used to play on other teams. So I think that they might have many of their close friends and family and be on a bus with the Toronto Six, quarantining in Canada. I think that they really come close. So not only does their skill now match the brand that they want to show, but I think that the core friendship bond shows through the product on the ice. And I think that Josh will have a great reason to represent his jersey he had to put away so soon that he just got.
Yeah, that was it showed up the day they canceled the season. That was sad.
Your bad luck.
So
yeah, but let's move on here. Speaking of Canadians, Corey Connors finished in third place at the Arnold Palmer Invitational this weekend. We won't talk too much about this. I just thought the top three was interesting because you had Connors at third place, Lee Westwood in second, and Bryson DeChambeau in first. Now, what was interesting was there's a hole that's what didn't used to be a drivable par 5 because you had to go around the lake, but DeChambeau just decided, no, screw that lake. I'm just going to bomb it over. So on day 3, he took out his driver. The wind was with him, and he just absolutely nuked this. And he landed, I think it was like 80 yards from the hole on a par 3, which is absolutely unreal. He was pumping and all that and crazy. Like you don't see that in golf at the moment. And they're going to have to start, how they have to tiger proof courses, they might have to start Bryson proofing courses if this guy keeps doing that. Like, that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Connors was in contention till hole 16, and then he just kind of choked and bogeyed, dropped a couple bogeys, and that was that. And Lee Westwood, they call him the ageless wonder. This guy's been around forever, man. He's constantly, finishing top 10s, and that was good to see. So I just thought it was a very unique top 3. That's why I brought it up. And we go into the players this weekend. That's always a fun tournament to have. And we got the Masters creeping up on us again, which is weird. We got back-to-back Masters tournaments. So I know Matt's a huge golf fan.
Yeah. So.
All right, let's move on.
No, I am.
Dude, just keep it.
Brandon has something to say.
I'm a super huge golf fan, though, for real, and I'm excited to see a Canadian in contention at that tournament this past weekend. But the Players is a beautiful tournament to watch. I'm excited to see that one happen every year.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Matt, what can you tell us about J.J. Watt and the Cardinals?
Well, I think we were kind of disrespecting J.J. Watt by talking about golf before we bring on J.J. Watt, but that's just me. So, yeah, J.J. Watt, probably first ballot Hall of Famer, excellent player. He's definitely not in his prime anymore, but he went to the Arizona Cardinals for 2 years at $50 million, which is insane, just because – just looking at the landscape of the league, no one actually thought he would get the big money. So a lot of people are saying that he picked the paycheck over winning a championship, which you might agree, because when you look at Arizona, they're in the hardest division with the Seahawks, the 49ers, and the Rams. So it might not have been the smartest thing to go there in terms of winning a championship. So just to get you guys in there, do you think some athletes go to a nice weathered place like Florida, like Arizona, like LA? You see it all the time. Just take the bigger paycheck and not really care about winning. So do you kind of see that trend, Josh? Like you saw the Bobrovsky in Florida. Yeah. LeBron went to the Lakers. Like, I just think that's me, what I personally think, just the situation. I think he got an opportunity to, instead of getting $10 million, he got $50 million, and he got to go to one of the nicest places in the world in Arizona. Just, it's nice weather, and he's from Wisconsin. So that's probably a switch up. So no state tax. So I basically think he made this move not exactly for a championship. Yeah, they have an opportunity to win, but I don't think they're anyone's favorites. So I'm going to say he went with the money instead of a championship and legacy. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's correct. I don't think he has any intention of winning a championship there. He'd be delusional to think that roster they have right now is going to win a championship. They don't even have a quarterback.
Well, they have Kyler Murray, who's came along.
I thought the same thing, especially throughout the whole speculation, the days and even the weeks leading up to the decision. The Bills and the Browns seem like way better options.
Yeah, but Buffalo and Cleveland. I think it's more that than it is.
But you're not living there, though. Like, even if you play for the Bills, you don't have to live in Buffalo.
Right.
Josh, you know what it is? He just got married, and he, like, during his press conference, he did talk about wanting to have a life, kids, like all that type of stuff. So I think
I have a great transition after this if we're done.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Oh, we're almost done. I just think he kind of looks at this more in terms of like, hey, I'm done. This is my final stop, and I want to be here for a long time. Than it is winning a championship. So, no offense to you Bills fans, but you don't get JJ Watt. Brandon, what's your transition?
I don't want JJ Watt.
All right. Well, Josh, if you don't have anything to say, can I transition us out?
Yeah.
Yeah, you said JJ Watt recently had his wife was pregnant, and last night one of AEW's superstars had to John Moxley, right, Josh?
Yep.
Is for lack of a better term, beat off the show. I guess Josh believes that it's in relation to his wife being pregnant and him having a child. I know Matt has nothing to say. He didn't watch this, but Josh and I were watching All Elite Wrestling Revolution last night, and a couple key matches of note that I'd like to talk about was the last match and the tag team Royale, which I've never heard of before. So what were your overall opinions on the night?
So this pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it, I didn't pay for it. This pay-per-view was one of the most entertaining and one of the least entertaining things I've ever watched, because the matches that were bad were awful, but the ones that were good were phenomenal. Like the Chris Jericho and MJF match versus the Young Bucks, that was really, really good. Canadian Chris Jericho.
Another Canadian.
The
special guest.
The Casino Battle Royal, that was fun. You always like to see that, like a Royal Rumble style tag team elimination match. That was fun. I really enjoyed the ladder match with Hamilton's own Ethan Page debuting, and then the Sting match. It was different because it wasn't in the ring, but it was like filmed in a warehouse, and that was kind of cool to see. Like, what's his face jumped like 20 feet and then buried that guy 2 floors down. That was fun. And then the exploding barbed wire death match. I had no idea what the hell to expect out of this thing. And when they put the rules on the screen, I was like, okay, I don't know how this is going to work. And I thought it was a really good match. Lots of blood. It was brutal. They used the whole ring. And then they really ruined it at the end when the ring was supposed to blow up and it looked like 4 sparklers were lit in the corner. I was like, oh boy, that was bad. And it entertained me, but it also let me down.
Yeah. As my first time watching an event like that, in a long time, I should say, it was good It was good wrestling, not acting. It was good wrestling, great wrestling, great story playing. The added hardcore of the AEW is what I really like. That whole death explosion match was great until the last. I think the last explosion was hilarious due to the fact that the 2 guys involved laid there motionless for 10 minutes after the show, even though we were both clearly unfazed by it. One thing else to say before we move on is that Christian
Canadian
made his announcement signing to the AEW last night, and I said he'll be a champion within 2 months. Do you think that could be possible?
No, I don't think that's the direction they're going to go with him. That belt's going to stay on Omega, who's also a Canadian.
Matt's debates time.
Oh yeah, that's thanks for that, Brandon. Anyways, so we have 4 questions today, boys. And the first one, have you guys all seen the Tom Wilson hit? I assume you have. Yeah. So Tom Wilson did a crazy hit, only hit his head. I thought the majority of people agreed with that. And he only got 7 games, which some people were surprised because usually if you're a repeat offender, they double it. But it turns out he's not.
Yeah, you got it.
Right. Just shut up. I'm talking. Anyways,
My show.
It clarifies that he's not a repeat offender. And a lot of people thought that was weird. And also, you had 2 very bad slew foots, and people only got fined. We made a joke about the OV thing last time, but in reality, he did not get suspended for that. So the question is NHL Department of Player Safety a joke? Josh, you can start.
They consistently get the. Brendan, why do you look so surprised? I do think it's a joke. It's run by a former enforcer. You need to have somebody in there who's never played hockey before.
I don't know.
Like, you just need
that won't work.
Yes, it will. You need a third party in there who can.
Third party. Okay, yeah, okay. Third
yeah, like
one second. This is funny. I actually thought you just meant just get a random person and say, "Do you think this was bad?" And they know nothing.
No.
That's what I thought you meant.
No.
So it's like, dude, half the things in a hockey game, people get suspended. Like, there's no way you can explain to a normal person. The goalie can just come out and attack people, and like the Mike Smith cross checks. Like, it would be so funny if it was a normal person.
I didn't mean just like walk down Dundas and ask the first guy you see who's wearing a red sweater. Like, have the same guy for it, but like get like.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But,
yeah, Josh, finish your thought.
Yeah, it is a joke. They consistently get it wrong. They're very inconsistent in their suspensions. And I don't think Peros is the guy for the job. When Shanahan did it, I thought it was pretty good because the videos they released with it explained it. When we get a release from Peros, it's just like, it's like he spins a wheel and was like, okay, 5K fine or a 7-game suspension. And I don't know. And I thought Wilson deserved more because he's a repeat offender, and he is. Like, I don't think it matters that he went 2 years without a dirty hit. And shouldn't they take in consideration they didn't play for a year of that because of
Josh, it was only 1 year. It's not 2 years, just 1 year. So last season he didn't get suspended, so he's not a repeat offender. That's it.
That's stupid.
That is so dumb.
I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Brandon, whoa.
Clearly,
Brandon,
clearly it strikes a hard chord with Josh. I didn't know that it would. I thought George Peros wasn't the worst.
Terrible.
I guess that you mentioned releasing footage with the clips that Shanahan did was very helpful in helping the fan recognize what went wrong. Clearly the hit was horrible. I thought Josh was disagreeing with that. 7 was too much. 7 seems appropriate for the shortened season. I don't know if the shortened season was taken into effect while suspending Tom Wilson. I also didn't know that repeat offender had to be within like the last year, calendar year, or season year. I think that regardless, Tom Wilson is a dirty player, and that should be known, and it should have an effect on his suspension. Josh raises a good point though with the inconsistencies now, because what do you value and what do you hold at a higher standard? Obviously, head and CTE and concussion protocol is very important, but if you can just go around sticking someone in the nuts, what's the suspension? What's the amount of suspensions that Ovi's going to get if he's a repeat nut shot offender? What if he does it again? Is that 3 games for clappers to the nut?
Probably.
I don't know. The OV thing's not really that big of a deal because it's kind of funny.
It is though, because like, what's 5K to hit?
No, but sorry. I'm comparing it to Tom Wilson charging and taking people's heads off.
Yeah.
And the slew foots and other stuff. That's what I meant. Sorry. I'll just expand on that.
So my answer is, are they a joke? No, I don't think they're a joke. I think to argue Josh's point, it's interesting to have George Peros on. I don't think that the fact he was a tough guy in NHL, maybe it's having an effect on his delivery of speech that you mentioned. He spins a wheel and just talks, but I think that he cares a lot for the safety of the actual players who are involved. And
I think he cares. I just don't think he knows what
yeah. So I don't know. I don't think they're a joke just yet, but I think if any further dirty plays were to occur this year with suspect decision rulings, that would further my my judgment on the guy. So no, not a joke right now.
I just want to, Matt, you're gonna laugh at this. We were talking about the Tom Wilson hit, and Brad Marchand was asked about it, and he said it was he said it was a bullshit hit, dirty, and doesn't deserve to be in the game. And then literally like 18 hours later, he cross-checks the guy in the back of the head after the whistle.
Dude, like. So, exactly. That's my point.
I also wanted.
That's why it's a joke.
Why are you asking Brad Marchand about a Capitals player?
Oh, he hit the Bruins player. They played the Bruins in the game. That's why they asked.
I don't care. Why are you asking Brad Marchand, who is known to treat players like popsicles and just lick them? Like, I don't.
The funny thing about dude, this is why I think it's a joke, because Marchand literally knew, okay, I can't get in trouble for anything because anything goes in the ice. Yeah. He saw the defenseman. They both made eye contact. The guy turns around. Then Marchand cross-checks in the back of the neck. And the funny thing is, Marchand and the ref both made eye contact, and they both looked at the guy on the ground. They both just skated away. Like, it was the most absurd thing I've ever seen in hockey. It was so funny. But yes, to answer the question, it is a joke because there's no accountability amongst players. There's no common thing. Like, I personally, when I see a hit and I'm like, oh, that's definitely going to get suspended, I don't know if it's 1 game, 2 games, or 3 games. I just personally think it needs to be more consistent throughout each suspension. But moving on, the next question. What position is most valuable in the sport of hockey? Number 1 center, number 1 D, or an elite goal? I'll repeat the question. What position is most valuable in the sport of hockey? Number 1 center, number 1 D, or elite goalie? Josh, you can go first.
Elite goalie, because if you can't make a save, it doesn't matter how many you score. The other team's just going to put another one in.
I knew we would not agree with this question. That's why I put it in. Brandon, let's go. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll say forward, but I'm not going to put too much thought into it. It's not like you gave us these a day in advance. I think the beauty of these is just how much we'll look back on this and what, Josh?
Just throwing Matt under the bus there. That's fine.
No. It's not his fault. No, it's a credit to him in the whole production of the show because you don't want to think about it. Sometimes it's funny to look back and maybe you realize you didn't think as much as you did. But I'm gonna go ahead and say right now that I think a first
centerman, yeah,
a centerman. Well, I guess the centerman is important. I think in terms of building blocks, you say goalie's great to have, but I think I've learned recently that players, and no matter what, are even willing to take a cut to their paycheck if they can come play with a star player. And a star player is usually a centerman and a forward. And based on this question, I think that if you have a Matthews or a McDavid, or you have like a Carter Hart or a Carey Price, like I'm going to play with the forwards, the guys that can put up historic offensive numbers, and the chips will fall in place after that. Even goaltending, I don't know if goaltending is the most attractive thing to bring the rest of the league to your team. I'm not sure if the question is what's more valuable to an organization over 10 years or what's more valuable to the organization if they're trying to win a cup right now. So for the answers of both, I think that you need something to attract anyone, and a forward, flashy first player. Last time I can't remember, other than maybe Carey Price. I haven't heard of a franchise goalie in a long time.
Yeah, so Josh,
the last one was rookie Pietro. He's still getting paid, and he was the first overall pick, and he's a sack of potatoes.
Yeah, so Josh, I think you're wrong as well.
Okay, I think you're wrong too.
No, but I've seen Antti-Niemi win a Stanley Cup.
Okay.
He was bad.
Ron Hainsey won a cup.
Okay,
I didn't choose. Okay.
No, but my
point. Matt hasn't even chose his answer, and defense wasn't even involved in the conversation.
Yes, it was. Defense was literally one of the picks.
No, but no one's chosen defense.
Yeah, because I just think with the defenseman, there's only so much you can do. And like I personally think probably the most dominant defenseman to his team is probably Erik Karlsson in one of the Sens year where they went to the conference final. Yeah. But even that, like he was, Josh, you say yeah?
I said yes.
Yeah. So, but even that, like you get 14 goals and 70 assists. Like you need someone else to score. So I do agree with Brandon. It is number one center because we talk about Matthews, McDavid, Crosby, McKinnon. I think it's always a centerman that's in these conversations, and everyone's looking for the superstar centerman. Because when you look at the last Stanley Cup winners, which I personally go by, you have like Point and Stamkos. They had two, but Point was the only one playing. So I'll say Point. You had O'Reilly in there, Crosby, Bergeron, Jonathan Toews. So I just think you need a lot more number one centers more important because we talk about those centers a lot more than we talk about Jordan Binnington, Vasilevsky, Fleury/Murray. And honestly, I think you can luck in a goaltending. Like who knew that just give me an example of a really good goalie. Connor Hellebuck, he wasn't a high draft pick. He kind of came out of nowhere in Winnipeg. And Frederick Anderson, we acquired for a first. You can't acquire a good number one center with a first round draft pick. And for that reason, I'll go number one center. Josh, do you have a debate or a rebuttal?
No, if you can outscore a team, you're going to win. But most teams in the NHL can't outscore other teams. You do need to rely on goaltending. And if you have, who's a terrible goaltender? If you have Garrett Sparkits in net, you're not winning most games. You do need an elite goaltender. So the next question.
Okay, so the next question. So the NHL draft, it was on 31 Thoughts and it was on Saturday Night Headlines. They're most likely not going to move it back. And they're basically telling all the kids that didn't get a lot of games or reps or COVID or whatever, just to suck it up. So do you understand that? That's literally what they said. So I'm just saying, do you guys even understand why they're doing that? Because for me, that personally makes no sense whatsoever. So the question basically is it fair that what they're doing in the draft, do you understand, or just your thoughts? Because I'm personally really upset. Because What?
Someone's got to explain what's going on. I don't know what the situation is.
They might move this year's draft to next year so teams can get a better look at prospects.
But they're most likely not going to, because they just said they're not going to move it back. So basically by June or whatever, when does the season end? It will still end at July.
Well, no,
right?
Okay, so here, let me give my answer. So I personally don't care when the draft is, but I think they need to let teams know within the next week or two.
That's the problem, yeah.
They need to know the value of the draft picks this year. Because if you trade a first round pick for this upcoming draft and that draft is moved to next year, that pick, it's less valuable because you're not getting that prospect until 2 seasons away.
No, but I think of it as it's more valuable because you have more data on the players.
It's more valuable the closer you get. You know what I mean? But no, because like Josh, that's not right. Because would you rather have a first round pick, you pick a player this June that you haven't seen?
He's kind of agreeing with you in what you're saying.
You don't
in the long run, when it gets like today, the next 3 weeks, it's a pretty shitty idea. But when the draft in a year is a couple weeks away, all of a sudden it looks like a great idea.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like say you were to give me, so say you were San Jose and I was Toronto and you send me, I send you a first round pick. You don't have it in June. So it's like at the time it's like, okay, we don't get this player next season, but 3 weeks away from the draft next year, that pick I sent you, it's like tripled in value. You know what I mean? Because
okay, but just expand on that, because what you're basically saying is it's all recency bias, and the closer it is. NHL. But
it would be really worth it if they win the cup this year, and all of a sudden you're giving away something that.
Well, Josh, my point more is, as a scout, wouldn't you rather wait an extra year so you see more of the kid you're picking, or would you rather just have the 12-game snippet that the WHL's playing? You know what I'm trying to say? So I personally think
as it would be yes, as a GM,
exactly.
You want that stuff right now, and I NHL scouts generally know what they want already, so.
So you think it's fair, basically, for the kid that's only played 20 games to be assessed only on that 20 games and not push back?
He's not being assessed anybody. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, he's been assessed already.
He's being assessed for the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
That's not realistic at all, actually. Because, dude, when you look
at assessed when he stepped into his first year of AAA draft. The last year, this player was in AAA hockey before they got drafted to the OHL. They've been being tracked and scouted.
They monitor guys.
No information notes go from the OHL team to the NHL team. But they go from hand to hand. They go from hand to hand, from scout to scout. The same player has a profile database that's just in the hockey system until he dies.
My point is, it's a problem because you're not what?
And sorry. And the fact is that the same player now that the Flyers or the Leafs may want in a year is going to dramatically change. They're not going to necessarily be looking at the same player now than they will be.
But you just contradicted what you just said.
In what way?
Brandon, what you said is they have a database on these players, so they already know what they want, and then
any player.
But I'm not done. Let me finish. But then you literally just said, but they changed in a year. So my thing is, give everyone a chance and make it just the back-to-back, which we already discussed, and make it next year so they get a chance. Because for the 1%, I agree with you guys. they know who Connor McDavid is since the 9th grade, probably before that. They know that kid. But when you look at recency, you look at Jack Quinn, you look at Mark Scheifele in the draft, you look at Wayne Simmons. These are guys you didn't know, but then 6 months later, they get picked really high because they either had a growth spurt or whatever. So what I'm basically saying is it's not fair to the kid, maybe not even the first rounder, the kid picked the 4th to 7th rounder, that you don't give him the time. Because realistically, you don't know who goes in the 4th, 7th round a year before. Okay, Josh, you know what I mean? I'm looking at everybody, not the elite kids. Everybody.
I know what you're saying.
Everybody has a database on them, to your point.
Okay, so yeah, I'm on both sides.
No, they don't.
So
they honestly don't.
To be fair to
I
everybody,
have a database myself. There's a
it's called Hockey DB.
Yeah, but that's not what they go off of. They don't just look at your elite prospects in Hockey DB and say, yep, this kid scored. Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Gary Bettman over here. Let me answer my question.
Okay, what?
Not you, Matt. Not you, Brett and Matt. So I would say in general, rounds 1 to 3 would generally stay the same from this year to next year. So why don't you just do the first 3 rounds this year and then next year make the draft 11 rounds? Boom, problem solved.
Yeah, but okay, they can't.
Is it a fair, good idea? Is it fair to who? Are we talking about the players? Is it fair to the players or the teams?
Fair to the players. I don't really give a shit about the teams.
The draft's not fair on the players anyway. Okay, move on.
It is fair to the players. Yeah, exactly. Next question after this, but it's fair to the players because it gives them a whole year to get better and train and do things to assess their game and get picked higher.
You should have been good in the first place. Let's go.
No, but one second. This is actually kind of important. I kind of want to stick to this, and this is the last hockey question, and then we have an easy one and we'll go. But I kind of understand your perspective, but I just kind of want to hear it more. Because Josh, you work with kids all the time. So I'm surprised that you have this position because you know the growth of 17. Actually, it won't even be 17. It'll be 16 to 18 because you missed on 1 year and a half or probably 2 years because it doesn't matter.
You see,
do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
so I'm just because
from a standpoint of the NHL and the logistics of moving a whole draft, it just doesn't make sense. So if you don't get those players are still going to get drafted. Like honestly, what's the difference between being drafted in the 2nd round and the 4th round? Those players are going to show up at camp and show what they have anyway.
There's probably about $200,000 in signing.
No, there's not. No, there's not.
There is.
No,
dude. The average 7th round draft pick doesn't get signed. The 2nd round gets signed right now. I know a kid who just got drafted in the 2nd round and got signed.
If you're a 7th rounder and you show up to camp and show what you can do in those games, you'll get signed.
No, but the point is, with COVID and everything, they won't even have a development camp after the draft. So how are they going to do that?
Yes, they would.
There wasn't a development camp last time. Okay, anyways, we'll just move on.
That was a situation this past year.
Yeah.
No, but it's realistic to say the kid who was picked last 5th round has not skated with his development staff for that NHL team yet. That's realistic.
I don't.
And they're not going to skate any faster if the draft's next year.
No, but you give them an op. It doesn't matter. Anyways, the last question is, what do you like more, Twitter or Instagram?
I like Twitter more because people are stupider on Twitter. Like they're given more words to talk.
Twitter breaks real news at real time.
Yeah, I like Twitter.
Twitter has funnier memes too.
Yeah, I'll go Twitter too. I just feel like on Instagram you're so limited and it's only like post a picture, but on Twitter you can post a picture and add stuff. You can reply to people. So yeah, I'll go with Twitter and
I like replying to people with pictures and gifs or something like that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Instagram's very limited on what you can do.
Just that.
Okay.
Oh, before anything happens, my computer's dying. However, we are wrapping up. I want to say on air before we film our next show, happy early birthday and happy birthday to Josh Egan, our very own. We'll be turning whatever he's turning, I think 16 tomorrow on the 9th. So happy birthday.
24-year-old
Josh Egan.
And everybody, before I forget, make sure you tune in to our next episode because we might have a little bit of a giveaway we're going to do. So stay tuned for that. Also, keep an eye out for our 3-point contest. I think we're going to do that.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Can I sign us off or do you want to sign us off?
Just say goodbye.